Welcome to this week's edition of Scarborough Toastmasters at Large, our weekly podcast where we discuss with local Toastmasters what they're doing in the club and out there in the world at large. Our guest this week is our VP of Membership, John. Thanks for showing up today, John.
Thanks for having me, Roy.
Oh, you're welcome. Did you have a hard time getting here? I mean, it's raining cats and dogs out there.
No problem. As soon as I hit Steeles, the traffic increased, went through the roof, and I slowed to a crawl, but I don't mind rain. I grew up in England.
Yes, in England, it does rain a lot. Now, how long have you been with Toastmasters?
I joined in the summer of 2012 when the club had just moved to Stephen Leacock Community Centre, so I got lucky. That's very close to my house, and being a lazy bastard, I was not going to haul my way down to Cedar Brae.
So your parents weren't actually married then?
Well, they said they were, but I never asked for proof.
So that is what, 6 years now, is it?
Yeah, and time has flown by. When I started, I had no idea of the length and breadth of things I could get involved with Toastmasters. I thought it was just learning to get comfortable speaking, but here I am 6 years later doing new things. It's just simply been a wonderful, expansive experience.
Now, one of the things, like I'm a hockey coach, I love coaching kids. And I know people out there in the audience are rolling their eyes, oh, here goes Roy talking about hockey again. But when I see one kid who's fantastic, I forget that when that kid started out, he was horrible. He could barely skate. And when I've seen you at the club, from the first time I saw you, I said, this guy's a good speaker. And it's hard for me to imagine you being a really bad speaker or not being very confident. But is that the way you were when you started out?
Let me tell you, Roy, it's a pity in some ways that my performances before joining Toastmasters weren't recorded, because it would be really nice to have a before and after. Before, I was absolutely convinced I was horrible, and of course, that's a prophecy that would always come true. And up until Toastmasters, I just didn't see how to fix this problem. I don't know actually what prompted me to join Toastmasters. I know I was vaguely aware of it, but as soon as I did the icebreaker, which is the introductory speech, I knew I was on the right track, and there was a world of difference almost immediately. Really, that one speech kind of opened your eyes up and changed a little bit of the world for you? Yes, I would go so far as to call it a revelation. The reception was very friendly. It's not a critical environment, and I have to say, looking back on it, that icebreaker was what you could say ensnared me in Toastmasters. Probably not the right word, but that's the perfect introduction for newbies. And one thing is, when you're doing your icebreaker, for the week before, for a lot of people, they're so nervous about it. That 1 week is very exciting. You're going, okay, this is what I want to talk about, and I hope I remember it. And it's funny because I'm going to tell people about myself. I'm going to tell them about my hobby of motorcycle racing. Now, am I going to possibly forget that I race motorcycles? I don't think so. But people get caught on what I've always called the acting script idea, that they have to memorize every word in every correct order, and if they get it wrong, then the audience will be critical or think less of them. People don't seem to realize that the art of speaking, just like an ordinary day-to-day conversation, is to extemporize, is to make it up as you go along, just talk. And one thing we should say about Toastmasters, which I really do like, is we do not critique content or accuracy. You can BS till the cows come home. You can make up facts and figures. You can say 2 + 2 = 5. We don't care. It's how you're speaking that we help with. We don't care about the accuracy, and that's what I would like to get newer members to remember. That's one thing that I really find too. Like when I go up there and do my speech, if I say I have 5 kids, but I only have 2, first of all, nobody knows how many kids I have. So I don't need a note to remind myself, yeah, I got, 2 kids, not 5. So the content doesn't really matter. The other thing I find is sometimes somebody will have a speech with a certain viewpoint. They'll have a certain, like I heard a speech recently about somebody who thinks privacy is more important than security. I personally might disagree with that. It doesn't matter. It's how well their delivery was. Did they have good voice? Did they have good eye contact? And content doesn't matter. No, and nor does pronunciation. The fact is that we have a large percentage of our members are basically English as a second language speakers, or even a third language, people from mainland China, people from Hong Kong, Sri Lanka, people from South America, and they're speaking in English to, we don't teach English, but we help you become more comfortable speaking it. For them, it's a wonderful environment. It's a
I
godsend.
really admire them because I think if I had to do a speech in French, I would be horrendous. And when I see somebody who came from China or came from the Philippines and English is their second language and they're making a competent speech, I really admire them because they're way out of their comfort zone.
I tell guests who are visiting us, scoping us out, you know, you do to some extent have to worry about pronunciation if you have a very heavy foreign accent. But, you know, you don't have to sound like a Canadian, and, you know, you don't have to worry too much about your vocabulary. That will improve as your confidence level improves. What I do tell people is to get over the idea that you have to script and memorize everything.
That's an important thing. And the pronunciation, when you come from another country, I remember there was one girl, she had a very strong accent, and her table topic was, I forget what it was. Oh, it was her grandmother. So she was telling a wonderful story about how her grandmother kept a bear in the living room. And we're all looking at each other, what do you mean you keep a bear in the living room? And she was talking about one day the bear was just lying there and it wasn't moving, so she took the bear out of the cage. And we're all picturing this giant cage in the living room with a bear in it. And, honey, what are you going into the bear's cage for? And then she told us how she picked up the bear, and we're going, you don't look that strong. And it suddenly moved, and she threw it across the room, and it hit the wall and fell down, and then all its feathers started flapping. And we realized she wasn't saying bear, she was saying bird. And she had thrown this bird across the room, and we're all laughing at ourselves because we're going, we had pictured a bear.
I've one example too of an individual whose accent and is aggravated by his chronic mumbling was so bad that we only knew he'd finished his speech and sat down.
And sometimes the accent, the person speaking it worries about it, and don't worry about it. Sometimes it adds a flavor to your speech.
Absolutely. And there are people from overseas who are volunteering to take part in contests within just 2 or 3 years of joining Toastmasters because their confidence has gone through the roof. What we have to say is they put in a lot, and that's what they got out. They got out a lot. So Toastmasters is very effort driven. The more you do, the better off you are.
That's like going back to hockey. The kids who show up every week and practice every week, they get better. And the Toastmasters who show up every week and participate every week, they get better.
Plus, I can't stress enough that we're a club, and by definition, we're a very friendly environment. We all like to have a laugh. Sometimes, you know, at the end of the Toastmasters year, we'll go out, you know, to a buffet or a bar, even, and hold our meetings. We've held meetings in a pub. We sometimes bring snacks or treats. It's a very collegial environment, and we never allow cliques or factions to form. So people can find that the Toastmasters isn't just an educational environment, it's also a fun environment where they can make new friends.
I have had some really great experiences from my Toastmasters friends. I went to